Hey,
Good morning.
you're early.
You have to say, among other things, you have to say these are views we cannot tolerate. We do not want people in liberal democracies approving of the murder of minorities. We do not want people in our democracies celebrating the massacre of innocent civilians. We don't want it, and we don't want sectarian conflict. We don't want medieval ideas returned to us in a new garb. We don't want it. Long live death.
The Mein Kampf is a bestseller in Gaza, but sure, let's pretend this is about real estate. Douglas exposes the ideology Western elites are too cowardly to name. From Amsterdam's pogroms to Princeton's death cult aesthetics, he traces where the rot actually lives and watches institutions collapse in real time rather than sound the alarm. This isn't polite analysis. This is a man describing civilizational self-destruction performed so slowly, everyone gets plausible deniability.
I'm Jordan Wood. Everywhere I go, Mainers tell me they've had enough. Tired of higher costs, exhausted by endless wars, and worn out by corporate greed. Washington is failing us. It's time for a new generation to fight Trump and the billionaires. I've already taken on election deniers, and won. I'll never take a dime from corporate PACs or lobbyists. I'm Jordan Wood, and I approve this message because I'll fight corruption, defend our democracy.
And my belief is that, and my observation of my eyes in many parts of the Muslim world, in Egypt, in the Middle East, is that it's one bit of the world where Nazi anti-Semitism and Nazi texts are mainstream. Whether it's a Cairo railway station or a home in Gaza, it's the only part of the world where you will find copies of Mein Kampf being read and sold not for scholarly or historical interest, but as a how-to manual. Why is it that so many of the soldiers of the IDF have been going house to house in Gaza in the last year and a half, have been finding just in house after house, and always, they say, with a marked radicalization since 2014 for the ones who are involved in that conflict as well? Why do they keep finding Mein Kampf? Why do they keep finding the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion and other just anti-Semitic Nazi filth? Why is it so commonplace? And the reason is it was not stamped out in the Muslim world. It was not stamped out. It was not defeated in the Muslim world. Nazi-style anti-Semitism was not defeated in the Muslim world in 1945. It has rampaged since. And to quote Mehdi Hassan, our mutual friend, who in a rare moment of honesty in about 2013 wrote a piece about this in the New Statesman. He said, every Muslim reading this will know what I'm talking about when I say, he said, that anti-Semitism is our, quote, dirty little secret. He said, every Muslim reading this in Britain, the West, will know what I mean, he said. He said, this is Mehdi Hassan, not me. He said, every Muslim reading this will know that dinner with the family and friends, it will turn on, somebody will have a thing about how the Jews, weren't in the Twin Towers on 9/11. Somebody will do the thing about, other anti-Semitic conspiracy theory.
IDF soldiers going house to house in Gaza keep finding Mein Kampf being read not as a historical curiosity, but as an instruction manual. And Douglas is asking the question that answers itself. Why is the book that blueprinted the Holocaust still a bestseller in Gaza? Mehdi Hassan himself wrote that anti-Semitism is the Muslim community's dirty little secret, and then presumably hoped nobody would remember he said it.
It's there. He described it among Muslim communities in the West as, quote, rife and commonplace. Now,
A rare moment of honesty,
a
indeed.
rare moment of honesty. I don't know how he managed it. But this, if this was any other community, if we discovered that there was a political sect, and there could be in the future, there could be such a sect in the future, or group, or political gathering, as there has been in the past. But if there was a political or religious sect in which Nazi-style anti-Semitism was rife and commonplace, I believe we would want to root that out. We would want to challenge it. We would want to confront it. We would want to solve it. We would want to redress that problem. But going back to that thing that Ruth Wise said, not many people seem to want to do that job. They can identify that the Jews are the victims of anti-Semitism, but they cannot identify who the culprits are. When there was that anti-Jewish pogrom, effectively, in Amsterdam some months ago. Remember when the Israeli soccer team was playing? It was a Maccabi, wasn't it? I think.
Maccabi Tel Aviv, I think.
Yeah, it was playing in Amsterdam, and it seemed that local Uber drivers, which is interesting, were communicating with each other, and then ended up sort of, helping to pile on and get people to pile on to these Israelis who were in town and beat them up and chase them through the
premeditated
street.
lynch.
It was a premeditated lynch, right? So look at the coverage of that in almost all of the media.
Mehdi Hassan wrote that anti-Semitism is the Muslim community's dirty little secret, and said every Muslim in Britain knows exactly what he means, because the dinner table inevitably turns to Jewish conspiracy theories. Now, if we discovered any other group where Nazi ideology was described by one of their own as rife and commonplace, how long before every Western institution declared an emergency?
It was, local Dutch people attacked visiting Israelis, and I don't think that's at all an analysis of the granular kind we need, which is was it Dutch people running out of windmills in their clogs, finding a Jew and beating them? Was it? Because if it is, then the Dutch people have to address that and say, how the hell in the 2020s is the Dutch population so incredibly forgetting of the worst times in Dutch history? But no one thinks that is the case.
But these are Dutch now.
Yeah, well, some of them will be, some of them won't be, but this is why I say this is a question which is so hard for the West to address, because we have this in our midst. We have people who believe, not all, but we do have people who believe evil Nazi ideas, and we don't identify it, and we don't call it out, and we don't challenge it, and there isn't enough challenge from within those communities. And it's like years ago there was a group in the UK called Muslims for Israel or something, and
Seriously?
yeah, and it was like a pro-Israel Muslim group cropped up, and I remember a friend of mine who's actually a Sufi Muslim himself said to me, "Have you heard about this group?" And Muslims for Israel, and I said, "Yeah, I know that guy." It's not that much.
Businesses in small towns grew more than 30% selling on Amazon, like Blue Track.
Amazon helped me reach customers across the country. It's been quite a thrill ride.
Small businesses grow on Amazon.
Of all the tools we use, our most powerful tool is understanding what will make you feel something.
The Amsterdam pogrom against Israeli soccer fans got covered as local Dutch people attacked visiting Israelis, and Douglas asks whether anyone seriously believes it was traditional Dutch people in wooden clogs hunting Jews through the streets of Amsterdam. We have people operating on full Nazi ideology inside Western cities, and we literally cannot bring ourselves to name them accurately because the description makes journalists deeply uncomfortable. How convenient.
It's not that much of an exaggeration to say, like, if the Muslim communities in the West were aware of the evil that exists in their midst, then they would be confronting it, and they're not. And the one thing you can tell, again, with considerable certainty, is if a group within that community wanted to raise the alarm, they would, to the great detriment of Muslim communities, the Muslim world, and the West, they would be the target of serious criticism, to put it mildly, from within their own communities. Yet the people who lead the protests, the people who lead the pro-Hamas protests, the people who lead the pro-Hezbollah protests, the people who have preached, and we have the videos, they're all available online, preached in mosques in Britain and across Europe in the post-October 7th period, have preached that Hamas is right and good, and that these actions that Hamas did were good. These people are not ostracized by their own community. And you might say the most generous interpretation is, okay, no religious community likes to air its dirty laundry in public. You know, the Catholic Church tried like hell to cover over the child abuse scandals within the church. Religious groups tend not to want to air their dirty laundry in public. It's embarrassing and so on. But if you're not dealing with this problem, and you're showing yourself deeply unwilling to deal with this problem, other people will have to highlight the problem. And as I say, very, very few people seem to want to do that, and it's to our long-term, serious detriment.
Douglas points out that anyone within Muslim communities who tries to raise the alarm about extremism in their own ranks immediately becomes the target of serious criticism from inside those communities. And yet, the imams who preached that Hamas's massacre was righteous face zero consequences. When exposing the problem gets you punished harder than causing it, what does that tell you about whether the community wants the problem solved?
Douglas, what you're describing is deeply disturbing, and it's deeply disturbing because as an old-fashioned liberal I want to believe that Western countries are capable of, self-confident democracies are capable of integrating people from different backgrounds, immigrants from around the world, around a shared civic ethos, confident in their own values. And I do not want to be in a situation where the Jewish communities of these countries find themselves caught between crusaders, right?
Yeah.
Like the angry white population, and between jihadists and the extremists on the other side, because it's never good for Jews to be caught in the middle of a crusade, and it's definitely terrible for these countries. And that raises the question of how you confront what you've described as a growing sectarianism problem within the West. And I wonder, you know, there's the old canard, Israel is the canary, you know, the Jews the canary in the coal mine. What starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. It's only, but I wonder, what do you think it augurs? Because we've seen around this war for the first time many Muslims in the UK becoming, and let's leave for one side what the actual motivation is, if it's genuine sympathy for the Palestinians or if it's, as you interpreted, an affront to Islam, whatever the reason, essentially becoming single issue voters, the election of Gaza independence to parliament. And I wonder where you see this going outside the context of Israel. Is this something where the war will go away and the sectarianism problem will go away? Or do you think that the reaction that October 7th has elicited and triggered in the West is actually a warning sign that people, precisely the people who want their societies to be tolerant and inclusive and welcoming, should be alarmed because it tells them that experiment, like, something isn't working. Something isn't working.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, I mean, something isn't working. And I've always thought that it's quite likely that Israel and perhaps even Jewish people in the diaspora will suffer for that.
The canary in the coal mine warning about the Jews has been proven catastrophically right so many times that you would think Western leaders would stop needing it explained. Mark Carney was Prime Minister for under 24 hours before he started lecturing Israel about electricity supply, while Ontario was simultaneously threatening to cut power to the United States. Does nobody on his staff own a single mirror?
Because it's too easy for mainstream politicians, among others, to believe that if you just make the Israel problem go away in some way, you have peace at home again. I mean,
As a sacrificial
as effective
offering,
sacrificial
so to speak,
offering.
as a scapegoat.
I mean, Mark Carney recently took over as Prime Minister-elect in Canada.
of the great state of... I'm joking.
Yes. Mark Carney, former Governor of the Bank of England, was in designated office for no more than 24 hours before he starts tweeting about how appalling it is that Israel should not be giving more electricity to the Gazans. And what's that got to do with him? I mean, what is he, an electricity supply in the Middle East expert? Why is he doing this?
Didn't Ontario just threaten to cut off electricity to the United States?
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But you know, why does Mark Carney feel the need to do that? It's because placate that movement at home, and hopefully it'll move on, it'll go away. I don't think that evil not confronted goes away. I don't think it does. I think you have a moment of pain, of course correction, of recognition of where you are.
Hang on, what does that mean, pain and course correction? Because this sounds rather dark.
No, I mean, I don't know what it means, really, in a way. I mean, I know the various things it could mean, but my own belief is that you have to confront this and you have to face up to it, and you have to say...
How?
You have to say, among other things, you have to say, these are views we cannot tolerate. We do not want people in liberal democracies approving of the murder of minorities.
Douglas says evil not confronted does not go away, and that should be tattooed on the forehead of every Western politician who spent the last decade hoping the problem would quietly disappear if they just avoided saying anything that might cost them votes. What did they think was going to happen when you spend years refusing to name something and then act surprised when it arrives at your door?
Senator Collins supports and advocates for more funding for cancer research so that people can have better treatments, better outcomes, and live better lives as cancer survivors. Thank you, Senator Collins. Continue fighting for our families.
In our democracies, celebrating the massacre of innocent civilians. We don't want it, and we don't want sectarian conflict. We don't want medieval ideas returned to us in a new garb. We don't want it. Now, as I say, and I've said this for many years, the problem of liberal democracies and the problem that self-described nostalgic liberals like yourself have is there anything that we can do? Is there any moment in a liberal democracy where we can say that doesn't work for us? I would say obviously yes. I don't think that having death cult supporters among us is good for us. I don't want it. I think it's very unwise to coax it and to stroke it and to appease it. I think that is the moment where liberal democracies should be able to find some civic courage and some backbone. And, you know, I think that can be done. I've always thought that can be done, but it has to be done by mainstream figures calling this out and saying, you know, if you support death cults, there are countries in the world you can live in, but this should not be the one that you should try to work in and further your aims in, because this doesn't work for us.
Douglas, I also want to believe that liberal democracies are capable of integrating minorities, rallying around
we both want that.
Civic pride. Problem is, of course, that a lot of the sympathy for the anti-Israel side and all the problems that are manifest therein are coming from the elite institutions. They're coming from the universities, coming from sections of the media.
Douglas is drawing the line every liberal democracy eventually has to draw, which is that tolerating a death cult is not tolerance. It is self-destruction, performed slowly enough that everyone can pretend not to notice. The people cheering for Hamas are not coming from the margins. They are coming from elite universities and mainstream media. So, which institutions exactly
Well,
are
yeah,
we
it is
expected
sad
to sound
because, you know,
the
so
alarm?
many of them had the opportunity to help explain those drug trafficking lines and the confusion that's been going on in a lot of our communities where there are children being abused. It really helps to strong arm for some people, doesn't it? Yeah, as you can see, a lot of other people have seen that too over the years. Many are just waking up to it, as usual. Same old, same old. Some things remain the same and some don't, you know? And still, damned if you do and damned if you don't, huh? But yeah, no, a lot of people feel that is sad instead of, you know, really explaining to people. I mean, it really spoke for itself, right? A lot of us got it and didn't need it explained to us. Yeah, but many people who don't get it or don't want to get it, like the criminals and sickos and druggies, yeah, and they know that. They know, yeah, we get it. Yeah, really sad they chose not to take that opportunity and platform to talk to people and explain to them those things. Well, they did in their little private, I know, we heard a lot of their private rehab discussions. Wow, huh? Really helps a lot for others to understand. How about the public? That's the whole point, though. They kind of missed that point. The whole point was to get that education into the public school systems and not to prescribe the children prescription drugs, and they went and did just that. They privatized all the things that should be in public school in Western medicine. Oh yeah, they all use the excuse, oh well, we can't say vaccine on Rumble. On YouTube, we gotta go to Rumble. Yeah, like it's their excuse to not talk about the important issues. And that's the issue. We can't say vaccine on YouTube, so fight for your freedom of speech. Wow, you're really stupid. They do it on purpose. It's like the druggies and junkies around here ignoring the abuse and what's going on. The actual facts and what's happening. They're doing the same thing. I don't know. It's not a coincidence. I mean, they're all heavily connected to those drug trafficking lines we've been talking about. And it is really sad they chose to not do the right thing. They seem to have all gotten together and discussed things and decided it was better to target innocent people. It's justified though, right? Did they kick a dog? That's how they got a lot of your attention. Beating up the doggies. I know. It's like they don't care too much about the people, but you show them some animals and... Like, don't we have a shelter here? It doesn't take much, does it? They're sick, people do. Yeah, the sad part is they're following that suit unknowingly because they want to, you know? Yeah, whatever benefits their little bullshit and stories and lies. It is really sad, especially with what you've seen in the advertising world and Just a total ignorance to the lower class, you know, as though they don't even exist. I mean, not everywhere. I mean, thank goodness we have places, you know, that take care of, you know, those people. And if anything, some of them have made out better, because you hear how horrible and it's not fair to them. So you have private places that'll make sure they give to individuals and specific people that'll do the junkies right, you know? Yeah, it's not a secret. They've been doing this shit for years. It's sick. They're sick people. Yeah, the ones, too, that cause most of the drug trafficking and problems are trying to act like they're helping now and healing. They got their Suboxone. Yeah, a bunch of sick, nasty fucking people. We're concerned about the children being fucked and tortured. I know there's a lot of people caught up in their drug and habit world and living their very important lifestyles, helping others. Yeah, but we're concerned about the children, the child and animal pornography directly connected to these drug trafficking lines. Right, Kennedy? I sure hope so. I really hope so. They need to get their fucking shit together and get real is all I know. Augusta, Maine, Governor John Hill Manton. My name's Mary. 4 children here. Youngest 2 are in the hands of sick murderers, pedophiles, and the child and animal pornography they've been feeding out to a lot of these groups who have been going around profiting from that. Right, Theo Vaughn? Joe Rogan? Alex Jones? What a nice trio. How about you motherfuckers get together and try to help the kids being tortured and abused? Yeah, all they're doing is helping their drug buddies and nasty fucking sluts. Gross. Fucking gross. Oh, anybody want to get real? Okay, Augusta, Maine, Governor John Hill Mansion. My name's Mary. Sick fuck's name is Michael Scott Garan, and him and his sick mother have abused those kids in unspeakable ways. And the proper authorities need to address this. Do you know the torture and abuse those kids have been through in the hands of those sick people? Oh, I can only imagine, huh? They get pretty creative, don't they? You sick motherfuckers. The proper authorities here need to help these kids, and the news people need to report the facts on the news. Do you fucking astute, nasty, fucking crowd-funded pieces of shit understand that? Get a fucking life. Much love, health, and peace to you all.